right now comes the part where we answer a few questions, and particularly for our friend Alicia. She's doing a campaign called Chronic Love Diaries, and it's pretty much for couples who either both of them have a chronic condition or one of them, and they just tell their stories and experiences dealing with this chronic condition together and how it affects their relationship and how they've grown and thrived from it. So hopefully it'll give you guys some value, some insight into our relationship and how we've overcome some stuff. Yeah, so shout out to Alicia.
Thanks, Alicia, for the questions.
Definitely thank you for the questions. These are really good questions that I feel we can share with audiences all around. So yeah, anything you want to say, Boo?
I don't know. Let's just get right into it.
Let's get into it, baby.
Why waste any time? Right?
Exactly. All right. So I have irritable bowel syndrome, aka IBS, and the way I'm thriving from it and not suffering from it is I try to manage my mental health. For example, I practice a lot of self-care. I go for long walks. Also, I say a lot of positive affirmations every day, just to keep myself motivated and encouraged, because living with IBS can be very discouraging. It interrupts my every day, my productivity. So it's important that I, keep my mind strong, right? I also focus on my diet. So I try to incorporate a lot of vegetables. I keep things balanced, just not too much nonsense. I just keep things balanced, keep things as healthy as possible. And just staying positive overall is just very helpful in regards to me thriving through this, through having this condition. So I told my wife on our very first date. At the time I didn't know what I had. I just told her I had stomach problems. And I don't know why I felt so comfortable telling her, but I did. And she took it very well. I didn't feel any sense of judgment. She didn't, look at me a certain way, you know what I'm saying? She didn't make me feel any type of uncomfortability. I just felt comfortable enough to tell her. And just, I guess that initial vibe that I got from her, she was just very open and very chill, so maybe that's why I felt comfortable. And I'm glad I did tell her, because look where we are now. She's my wife, you know what I'm saying? Going 8 years strong. And she's been my number one supporter since day one in every aspect of my life. So I want to say that initial act of telling her and her initial response to me telling her pretty much was like a foreshadow of what could be. You know what I mean? The fact that she understood from jump, no judgment. I just knew off bat, like, this is the woman I need to be with, who I want to be with. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who doesn't judge me, who understands me. And I'm being redundant, aren't I? But you get my drift, guys. So that's how I told her. I told her on our very first date, and it was history from there.
So, like he said, he told me on our first date, and we went out to eat. You want me to say where we went to eat?
If you want, go right ahead.
We actually went to McDonald's. So
I ain't ashamed.
I know some of you guys are like, oh, that's not healthy, or the right thing to eat when you have IBS, but he didn't know he had IBS at the time. He just told me, I have stomach issues, and I have to really watch what I eat, because certain things will just really mess me up. So right now, all I'm gonna eat is some chicken nuggets, because I know that that's something I could eat and not
tolerate that.
Yeah, he could tolerate at the time.
Yeah.
So when he told me he had stomach problems and stomach issues, I didn't think much of it. And the reason why was because when I was younger, when I was probably around 10 years old, I too had stomach issues, where I was bedridden for months, because I just could not get myself out of bed, and then the doctors didn't know why. They didn't understand me. They thought it was all in my head, and it turned out to be something totally unrelated to my stomach. And when they fixed that other injury that I had, my stomach problems went away. So I had this understanding that, you know, people go through issues where, you know, the doctors might not understand, or they might not understand themselves, and it'll take a while for them to get diagnosed. So I said, okay, you have stomach issues, all right, well, like, I'll find out more about that, you know, as I get to know you. But that wasn't a huge issue for me when I first met him. I was like, okay, like, people have to watch what they eat, you know, and I totally understand that. So I didn't judge him or, you know, look down at him or anything, because, you know, that's not important to me. More important to me was, you know, the way he treated me, the way he looked at me, the conversations that we had, the deep, you know, level of connection that we had when we were together, and that didn't really faze me too much. What I love most about SP, aka Mr. Positive Vibes, is one, he's very attractive. I mean, ladies, no, don't even get no ideas.
Hey, my number one right here, alright?
No, I mean, that was the first thing that, you know, attracted me to him, was his looks, obviously, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, then.
But when I got to know him, he was very, very humble. You could tell that he wasn't arrogant. You could tell that he had just this, like, real deep side to him, that he didn't think about life the same way other people did. And I don't know, it was some mystery about him that I was just like, oh, I want to know him more, you know, I want to know how he thinks and what his views on life are. And, you know, since we've been together these 8 years, you know, we've really grown up together.
8 strong, baby. 8 years strong.
He's taught me so many things about, you know, the biggest thing I think he's taught me is how to empathize for other people, especially people where you don't know what they're going through on a daily basis, and to put yourself in their shoes and to really, you know, take yourself out of the equation and think about, you know, what that person might be going through that day. Maybe they're having a bad day, that's why they react to you that way. Maybe they're in pain and that's why they're irritable. Maybe, you know, something else is going on in their life that's making them depressed and you don't see that, or they're not telling you that. And that's one thing that, you know, he is very, very sensitive to. And that's one thing that I love about him, is that he really he considers other people first a lot, you know, and
before
sometimes
myself.
Right, sometimes to a fault, but, you know, it's still a good trait to have, and it's taught me so much about, you know, how I look at people and how I treat other people as well. So that's one of the things I love about him the most. And he keeps it real with me. Like, he keeps it 100% real. Even though I love to be a perfectionist, I love to be, you know, on my A game. If I'm not, he'll let me know, you know, and that's what I need. I don't need a yes man. And
vice versa, by the way.
Yeah, I keep it real with him too.
Oh, for sure.
You gotta balance it out.
Got it.
So yeah, those are some of the things that I love about him. I'm not gonna tell you everything because you don't need to know everything.
Shoot,
okay?
Some things private, right? All right, next question. There's one particular experience that I'll never forget that I feel tested our relationship, and it was when I was at a very low point of my life. Again, this was one of my most lowest moments of my life, so I couldn't even hold a job for more than 6 months at this point in time in my life. I couldn't even keep my social life alive. I mean, I barely was hanging out with friends because I was always inside the house just dealing with my pain and just trying to cope alone. You know what I'm saying? And one of the biggest things that happened during this time that really just messed with me, that really put me into a deeper, darker path was the fact that we had to let go of our very first apartment. And we was only living there for about 6 months. And we had to let it go because, again, I couldn't hold a job for longer than a few months. And my wife couldn't handle the burden of paying the bills and the rent all on her own. So, unfortunately, we had to move back with our parents. And again, that really just messed with my self-esteem. I felt so depressed. I was so miserable. And I didn't want her to be a part of any of that. So, to be honest, I tried pushing her away. I did. I tried pushing her away. My IBS and my depression was just really getting to me to a point where, you know, I don't want to use the S word, but I was really at a low moment of my life where I didn't feel or see any reason of living with this pain for the rest of my life, right? And I'm just keeping it 100. But my wife fought and stood by my side no matter what I was going through, no matter how many times I pushed her away. She stood by my side. It was hard for her too. I know it was, but our love, our bond, our connection just kept us there. It kept the foundation unbreakable. So no matter how trying those times were, she was always there. She was still there, still encouraging me, still motivating me to continue and not give up. And that she'll always be by my side no matter what obstacles are in our way. For me, that's definitely a great example of her showing me unconditional love because, you know, nowadays, I don't even want to get into the whole society stereotypes where nowadays men have to be on top of their game. They have to, you know, make sure they're financially set, and nothing should ever get in the way of that. But I'm a human being, and this condition I'm suffering from is very debilitating. And she really understood that. You know what I'm saying? She really understood that. So we didn't let that obstacle, you know, destroy our relationship.
And just to give you a little context, we were engaged at the time.
Yep.
Just like he said, got our first apartment. We were still learning about, you know, what the bills were gonna be, and like, you know, it just wasn't. We thought we could handle it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we couldn't, and that's okay. And he took it a lot harder than I did when we had to move out of the apartment. I wasn't breaking up with him or anything, but it was just like, we can't pay for it. So, you know, we just have to step back for a little bit. And for me, that was like, it was a wake-up call. I was like, okay, we're not ready yet. We'll try this again when we are. But for him, it made him feel like it's all his fault, you know, and I didn't blame him for it. And I had to reassure him that I wasn't blaming him for that reason. I mean, of course, because of his IBS, like, but that he didn't know or have control over that at the time, you know. So we were both still figuring it out together, and trying to figure out how he could work and what kind of job he could work while having this condition. And he had to go through some trial and error for a while, you know.
A lot
I don't
of
even
trials
know. I
and
lost
error.
count of the jobs that you had.
Man,
And
yo, you should see my resume. I mean, all kinds of jobs.
his resume is like 5 pages long.
But it just goes to show I was just trying to figure it out. How do I live with this debilitated condition, right?
Right.
So, yeah. No, man, trying times, but we got through it. We
Yeah.
got through it, and it's just a testament to our love, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. All right.
When you have a spouse that has IBS or any chronic condition, I feel there has to be a deep level of understanding of what they're going through, and this has to go with the sense of empathy of, you know, you don't physically feel what they're feeling, right? And I guess it's important for them to describe to you what's going on so that you can understand why they are reacting the way that they are. So, for example, when someone has IBS, it could really tire them out, like extremely fatigued. when they're so exhausted and physically tired, you have to understand that, you know, they need to take a break, you know. So that's one way that I show him that I understand, is like, yo, relax, you know, like it's okay to take the rest of the day off. It's okay to lay down and relax your body because you're working so hard in that bathroom. Like it sounds funny, but it's not funny, because it really is painful. I could really see the pain that he goes through. So, you know, whenever he's feeling good, he does so much, you know, for me. He does so much work around the house. He does so many things for me. He cooks for me, he cleans for me, he does all of these things. So whenever it is that he's not feeling well, I'll pick up the brunt of the work, and I don't mind doing that, because I know it's for a reason, you know, that he's not feeling well. And I know him well enough to know that he wants to do more. It's not that he's being lazy or he doesn't want to, is he can't, you know what I mean? So just having that level of understanding and appreciating what your partner does do for you, you know what I mean, on their good days or even on their bad days. They might be sacrificing their pain or trying to ignore their pain just to go, you know, out to eat with you, or just to go to a party with you, and they don't want to. So just appreciating those times is really, really important.
She's supposed to make me cry, guys. Man, yo, she fucking, yo, I'm corny, I don't care,
corny,
yo. She understands. Yo, she understands. She understands, and this is why she's my wife, for real, babe. That what you're saying really means a lot to me. Sorry, I didn't know she was gonna say all of that, for real. I mean, that's she's on the money right there. She's on the money. She really understands what I go through, and that's evident right there.
Mm-hmm.
So
want me to wrap up the question?
Wrap up the question, babe. I'm sorry. Okay. That was very. See, guys, that was just very reassuring. That's all I gotta say.
So yeah, that's some of the ways that, you know, if you have a spouse, whether you're a male or female, that has this condition, just really trying to put yourself in their shoes is so important, because you take for granted how well you feel on a daily basis. So really think about those things, and, you know, don't take life for granted, and don't take the fact that you feel good more than they do for granted too. So that's what I have to say.
Alright, cool.
So my advice to the people that don't have it, and you're with somebody that have IBS or any other invisible illness, my advice to you is to put yourself in their shoes, to support them no matter what, and not superficially, and not have these crazy expectations that, you know, they're gonna be cured one day, and, like, you know, they're gonna be functioning like a normal person, and comparing them to somebody else who doesn't have their condition. Don't do that. And don't always correct them on what they eat, because nobody wants to hear that, you know what I mean? Like, somebody with IBS, like, they still can enjoy food every once in a while. Yes, they're gonna be hurting, but they're human beings, okay? So do not try to correct their every move, and just, you know, I know you're looking out for them, but it's still, like, you have to really put yourself in their shoes. Do you want somebody telling you, you know, everything you're doing is wrong, and it's not all about your diet? We know it's not all about your diet.
It's not. And sorry to cut you off, but it's also because you don't want to live restricted all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Living too restricted can mess with your sanity. You know what I mean? And sometimes you want to break free and just eat whatever you want. It is not necessarily eating burgers, pizza, like, not always that. It could be, you know, it can even be a certain type of salad, and it could just easily trigger me. If I want to eat onions one day, for example, onions, and garlic in a certain, you know, way, it can trigger me. It's not about, when I say cheat or eating things that I shouldn't be eating, we're not talking strictly junk food, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's all types of foods, whether it's we consider healthy, like broccoli, cauliflower, again, onions, garlic. These things tend to trigger me sometimes. So it's just about watching what I eat, and again, but I don't always want to be restricted. So there's times when I want to eat certain things, and hey, I'll take the risk.
Right. But don't criticize your significant other for what they eat, even if it affects them. they have to live life too. Sometimes they want to taste something that they haven't tasted in a long time. So just don't, like, come on, don't be like that. Don't be nagging and annoying.
That's real.
And you know, that's a lesson I had to learn too. So I was not perfect in the beginning. Don't think that, you know, I never made that mistake, but these are just things that I learned over the past 8 years of dealing with this one.
So the advice I have to give to those who are searching for love, who also suffer from IBS, is to learn to live with your condition. Learn to accept it. Be yourself shamelessly. Love yourself enough to never give up on yourself, right? You may be suffering from something where you just feel like you want to stay inside all the time, or you want to be alone, and you just want to be depressed and antisocial and an introvert and so on and so forth. But don't let it make you become that person, right? I feel that these things allows others to love you properly. You know, if you can love yourself the right way, then it allows other people to love you properly. So I would say focus on that first, is loving yourself first, making sure you're accepting your condition shamelessly, right? Focus on that first, and eventually the love will come. You know, sometimes I feel the best way to look for love or to find love is when you're not even looking for it in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Because it'll just happen when it's right, right? Mm-hmm. So
and also, like, you know, having this condition could kind of make you become introverted, and it's so important to really fight through that and still, you know, force yourself to go out at times, because you know, you might have a partner that wants to go out, and I mean, if you find a partner that's introverted too, you guys can hang out at the house, that's cool. But, you know, you still have to have some sort of social life. So, you know, force yourself to go out every once in a while. Not, you know, it doesn't have to be every weekend, but maybe once a month, you know, and treat yourself. You know, whatever it is that you like to do, continue doing those things that make you happy and that motivate you and lower your anxiety and stuff. So, and that's really going to help with your symptoms, because the more anxiety you have, the more, you know, you're gonna feel your symptoms triggered, you know, no matter who you're around, what you're eating, or whatever. So, you know, definitely focus on that, and then you might meet somebody that is into the same things you're into, you know, so you never really know where you're gonna find love, but you have to be open to it. But before you can find love, you gotta love who you are and be confident and comfortable, yes, in your own skin, and say, yes, I have this condition, but you know what? I'm dealing with it, and I'm staying positive through it. Exactly. Do you want to be on this journey with me?
You know what I'm saying?
You know?
Real talk. Real talk.
All right.
So that's all. That's all for the questions today, guys.
Yeah, that wraps it up.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope this Q&A session helped you guys out a little bit. If you have any other questions you want to ask about our relationship, or just, you know, being in a relationship with somebody with IBS in general, how he deals with it, how I deal with it, definitely, you know, leave a comment below asking your question, and maybe we'll do another just whole Q&A video in the future.
The next session or whatever.
In the near future.
Right.
How about that?
Definitely.
But shout out to Alicia.
Thank you, Alicia, for the questions.
Yes, and put her
I'll put her IG or social media. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is oops, right here. Alicia's account right here. No, this is Alicia's IG right here. And
follow her.
And this side is her Facebook. All right. Follow her. Shout out to Alicia.
We're new to this thing.
Yeah. Oink. So, and you know, I got it. Okay, and all right. So the advice I have to give to those who, thank you. Do over. You know, that initial